eri tā tangata, he mauri reo, he mauri ora, he mauri ora e.
In this episode of Ōrorua, James Webster and Libby Gray connect and wānanga with the late tohunga pūoro, Hinewirangi Kohu-Morgan, no Ngāti Kahungungu, no Tauranga Moana. They explore her vast experience in te ao pūoro and te ao Māori, and delve into the teachings of her pāpā and reflect on his kōrero of the four doors of the oro tangata, the human voice. Hinewirangi is passionate about her understanding of Ātua Māori and the gender imbalance that is currently misguiding our people. Hinewirangi's story is one of pain and trauma, and how her journey in healing has guided and driven her to help others, and in her words, help them to sing their soul back into existence. Nō reira, kei taku remu huia, kei taku Māreikura Hinewirangi, hoki wairua mai.
Ko papa ko putu ko tāne mahuta ko tangoro ko tāwhiri mātia ko haumi e tiki tiki ko rua au mo ko korongo ko whēro ko tūmatoina. Toko nā rangi ki runga papa tuanu ko kīrero ka pota ki te whai au ki te ao mārama. He tau ai a tātou i tēnei wā ka rawatu ki wēnei o nā kōrero e pāna nā taonga pūoro. Ka tau ai te Māori moene o nā kōrero ka kōrero hia e tātou i te rangi nei. E runga whakiiri aki ki runga kia tīna.
Tīna.
Aumi ui e tāki. Nei rā kia mihi aki kia kōrua e tatu mai nei mo tēnei kaupapa, te hau ororua o te ororua me ki. E kōreroa ana e pāna nā taonga pūoro, te ao pūoro. Kei konei au te kōrero atu kia Hinewirangi, Hinewirangi Morgan, tēnei e te kōrero atu kia koe, nau mahara mai tau mai, i pai ki te kite ai a koe hoa, i ngā wā katoa, e pāna tō tino ātāhuatanga, e tō waiata, tō reo, i wero nā mea e mahi ana e koe i tō ao. So, nau mahara mai tau mai, te mihi hoki kia Libby, Libby Gray, kei konei tātou i te rangi nei ki te kōrero e pāna tō tātou manawa, ngā taonga pūoro. So, nei rā te mihi, tēnā tātou. So, here we are, and I'm sitting here with Hinewirangi Morgan and Libby Gray. I have the pleasure of these two beautiful wahine to come and share, some more kōrero about taonga pūoro and, life's journeys and the gifts that taonga pūoro have brought to our lives and to share with you here today. So once again, Hinewirangi, always great to see you and your fabulousness. That you've taken the time out to come and share some of your kōrero with us today. So, nei rā te mihi.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to have the likes of our Māreikura to share the mātauranga that we have always wanted to hear. So e mihi ana ki a koe, kei te Māreikura Hinewirangi. Tuatahi ake, we'll get straight into it, ne? Hine, tell us a little bit about yourself. Ko waikoe no hea koe.
Ko Hinewirangi tōku ingoa, ki te taha o tōku whaia, no Kahungungu iaia. Ko mau kai te maunga tapu, kanu haka te awa. Ko rongo mai wahine, tōku tūpuna whaia, e tu ake au, i raro i tōna korowai. Tēnā ra koutou, tēnā ra koutou katoa. Engari, ki te taha o tōku matua, no Tauranga Moana, ia ia. Ko mau au te maunga tapu, ko Tauranga te Moana. Ko tama te apokai whenua, tōku tūpuna matua, e tu ake au, i raro i tōna kaha. Tēnā ra koutou, tēnā ra koutou katoa. Kia ora everybody, I'm Hinewirangi Kohu-Morgan, named after my kuia Hinewirangi, who was named after her kuia Hinewirangi. She was born in 1847, and guess what? 100 years later, I come along in 1947. Ana koau.
I don't know how to follow that. Could you possibly share with us a little bit of your background and how you came to be in Te Ao Pūoro and your passion and your love for taonga pūoro?
Yeah, I was the firstborn of two families. I have 23 siblings, actually. The Morgans from Muriwai Beach, and that's my Morgan side. My Kohu side is my pāngai tuatoru. But it was Anaru Kohu that, when my mother finally settled in Tauranga, Moana, that took us into Papakaina. I was raised by my kuia for a long, long time. And she taught me all that I basically, she used to say to me, haramai tiki taku rongoa. And her rongoa wasn't a hue. That's where my love of hue, hine pūte hue, kei roto i tāna taonga pūoro. But the taonga pūoro came from Anaru Kohu. Anaru Kohu, we lived in Huria, Papakaina. We didn't live in urban. We lived there. And he was a muso in every way. He was a saxophonist. He could play all the instruments. He was useless on guitar because he just played what we think is a jingalaka guitar, jingalaka. But every other instrument he played, because he played in the bebops. It was a band. And they played that kind of Glenn Miller rock, stuff, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we danced that as children around their practice out of the thing. And then of course, he would play with his hands cupped and play pūoro with his hands. Or he taught us the four doors of the pūoro, of the oro. That's where it starts for me. It starts with the oro. My papa taught us that in the puku is the first door, the door of the kuia karaua, because the kuia karaua looked after us, wasn't mummies and daddies. They didn't exist in a papakaina. It was the kuia karaua who looked after us. So the koro and the kuia was in there because they were slowed down, and so they had a certain sound, and those Hawaiians do it. And even, Papaki tu anana taiki mawa. And they go into that deep sound of the voice. And the kuia even would karanga. The karanga would go, and it would crawl across the floor. And so I had to learn the voice of that kuia karaua, so what song do I sing deep in that soul? It was also the place for healing, where I first discovered the oro was a place of healing in the puku where women stored pain. Everyone stores their pain in the puku. The men, much lower, hence prostrate cancers and cancers of the puku. And the healing soul was the oro, to learn the oro, to learn to weep, to cry too, because we couldn't cry. And I learned that story from the kuia. You know, at a tangiana, they'd be playing kari. And Nick Mana, I'm going to pop their head in the door and go, hello, so, ko tai mai nā manuhiri. Next minute, those queer pack everything away and then they'd take on a certain āhuatanga. And I used to watch them, I used to think they were all lies, what fakes. Because the minute someone stepped in the door, they would go, you know, it was years later that I realized that they gave permission for those ones stepping through the door to hear their own tangi and to release. And what a oro, what a role of the tangi. But I had to learn to tangi myself for the pain that I carried with me as a child. So that healing process began in the puku, the first oro. The second oro came to here my dad taught us. Mind you, here, he was terrible. This is what you're going to sing to your sweetheart. What do you sing to your sweethearts? What special ways do you have? And I always had one, but prior to that, my father would come in, because he'd been to Tripoli, you know, in the world. He was a 28 Māori battalion person, and he'd been over the world, and he'd come back and he'd stand at the door and he'd go, Bono no te mi amore, bono no, to my mother, and she would say, shut up, Anna. Hey, and next one we would be saying, Papa, come and sing to us, and he'd be singing in Italian. He had a love of oro way across, and that was his, Bononote was his song for my mother, that he would sing to her all of the time. And you could feel his love for her, you know, in that way. Because my mother was really hurt by her first two men in her life. And so my song was, and I used to hate the song. I used to think, why am I going to sing this song for Kaiana? Kaiana was my darling from Hawaii, and I had to, that one up here is the heart of the manua, the oro of the manua, the special words, and I used to sing it to him. I'd have to sing it because you asked me to. And then years later, Canon Huata took us, we were in his wānanga, and he said, I want you to come to this wānanga because we have just received a big amount of money. We're going to put it towards education for our babies. As a result of the New Zealand, the radio waves using this waiata. He said this story of this waiata was written by my grandfather. He fell in love with a woman far too young to be woman. And he went to ask for her hand in marriage. At 14, 13, 14, they married early. And her whānau said no until she became woman. Then he could. But in the meantime, he was not to see her. And if their love was supposed to be, it would be. So he wrote this waiata, and then he would sing it from across the Waiapu to her village, which was just on the other side, to keep their love alive. And it was this song that I sang with that love, the same, because I had to sing across the oceans to him, in Hawaii. He lived there and I lived here in Aotearoa. And I realised why, once I heard that story. They married, and that's Canon Huata, the Canon Huata. That's his whole whānau that the story is about. That marriage happened. And it went like this. Po kare kare ana na wae o wae apu whiti atu koe hine nari na wana hine hoki hoki maira kama te aho moto aroha e kore te aroha I maroke I te rā nā kuku tonu I a kuro e mata e hine hoki maira kama te aho moto aro hae. I'm thinking of my honey, I'm sorry.
No,
But it's so, that was the song of the heart, the song of the oro of the heart, the manawa. That's the second door. The third door is the kaki, of course, the throat. It's the door of the ori. Oh. So you got to have a baby voice, you know. And I stole the song from Hawaii, you know, and put a kupu to it. And it's moi, moi, pepi, moi, moi, pepi, pepi, I roto I taku aro ha moi, moi, pepi, pepi. Hey, you have to have that baby voice. There's a different voice, a different oro. And the last oro was the oro of the upoko for the falsetto. Those falsetto men, they hit notes I can't hit. Really pitched high. The Hawaiians do it all the time. Beautiful. But the only way I pitch that upoko pitch is and you had to hit the note right on track, otherwise you couldn't slide up to the note, you had to hit it. So how do you think I hit it?
You couldn't slide up to the note.
So my learning of pūoro started with the oro. We had pūoro all around the house in the natural world. We had a leaf that we did pick off a tree and did play it between our fingers. We didn't have these beautiful, beautiful pūoro that I have now in the collection. Our kōwaua, you know, was a plastic bottle. Or a bottle was our, you know, all of the things, what was in our plastic world, what was in our new world coming up. But we also had those nuts hanging off the tree, you know, off those eucalyptus nuts, and we used to have to clean them out and make pūoro out of the eucalyptus nuts. And we had all kinds of bark from the tōtara. There's plenty at home. So that was the pūoro that I grew up with my papa. And my papa, not just me, my brother became a jazz player, just beautiful. But certainly I've held the pūoro, tanga pūoro, because I just see the pūoro as a healer. I see each instrument as a healer. The pukaya for me said, drop what you're doing and run. So when I look at my pukaya, I do the same, you know, I run within and to ascertain where I'm at. And I take every instrument and align it to me, because if I can align it to me as a healing process, then I know that I can use that in our pūoro workshops that we run out of my studio. Yeah. And also the other part of the kaitiaki o ngā pūoro, which is why I'm very adamant about wahine being, because it's been a male-dominated, not purposefully, but we need to step up as wahine to look at hine pūtehue, hine raukatauri, and hine Moana. She is the ocean. She had three people looking after her, Ātua. Koko, the safe waters, where, the kui and the karaua in the old days in the traditional reo never said, haere koe ki te horoi, haere koe ki te koko, go to the safe waters and wash. Koko was the first atua where it was safe. When it became unsafe for the babies, it became tangaroa there to the horizon. From the horizon thereafter was the Moana nui ākiwa. The ocean itself was in there. Hine Moana, so why are we just talking tangaroa? Why are we not talking Moana nui ākiwa? Why are we not talking them all together in balance and to bring the balance back and applying those wahine, hine rauka tauri, hine pute hue, alone, was known as the goddess of peace. That when those atua were arguing amongst themselves, it was her who opened their hue and set them down and created peace. The same as Rongo Matane standing by her side, the two together, and we need, in pūoro, we have an opportunity to whakahokia the balance, to undo the matriarchy, the patriarchy, and to bring back the bisexual nature of us. The tāne, the wahine taha maui, he wahine tēnei taha matau, he tāne kei roto iau. No kei waho, roto iau. What does that mean? What does that mean for me then? It means I have to bring balance to my work, to whatever it is that I do. Not yours, but if this helps you, hey, then it helps. Hey. Mm-hmm. So pūoro, taonga pūoro has, the first time that hau manu kind of with Richard nuns and people as of such caliber he came to see my dad. He came to see my papa because my papa was the one who sent him to Joe Malcolm in Te Arawa. But my papa was the one he wanted to talk to. What's that Pākehā I want? Because we were a very political fighting Ngāti Marawaho Kohu tribe. Not the whole tribe, just the Kohus. And we went on the hikuiki waitangi, but we were in jail. We were jailed for land occupation stuff, all of that stuff. So we were that. So when a pākehā turns up on our marae and wants to know information from my pāpā, so all of us girls sat on me. What that pākehā want, Papa? Oh, he wants to talk about pūoro. Oh, okay, cool. Well, we're going to stay here and listen then. Because we wanted to protect him, because he was a knowledgeable tōhunga, my papa, on things Māori. He was full Māori. He didn't have no Pākehā blood in him. So he was that way. So we sat. And the kōrero was really amazing. I didn't feel like he was, trying to step, but he came with passion to say to my dad that because he was a player in all kinds of other music and a muso as well, not just with pūoro. He played every other, it was amazing. But he wanted to start a pūoro so that it wouldn't be lost. His dream was to get it to a place where there would be, and there's us, haumanu, at the end of all of that journey that he began. And so in that kōrero, we just realised, oh, okay. Then my dad sent him over to Joe Malcolm in Te Arawa, who was a pūoro player from Dad's age, or their age group, and they were musos, and they often played together at tangihana, at all kinds of things, So my journey with pūoro was in my own whare with our dad, and with the knowledge of Joe Malcolm, people like him. But just about everybody at Huria played a pūoro of some sort, and trumpets, and besides the Māori pūoro, we all knew what those was. And we always used them during the waiata tangihana, and then they stopped using them because, they were too noisy. and because all of us kids got on our pūoro, different noises, and look here. But that's the journey with Richard. And then from Richard to Because Hirini Melbourne, he's the most bloody unreliable blimmin' frickin'. Every time I had to hire him to come and play at something, you know, you go, yeah, and then be late. That's the same with Whiri Mako. They're all those mates who were bloody fairy people, always late. And then he would get all of his hue from me.
If we were to ask you the question of what is it that you specialise in, I can say so many things, but what's prevalent in the kōrero is tōreo me hine pūte hue. But from you, what do you feel like you specialise in terms of taonga pūoro?
I think I specialise in the love of oro across the board. I'm not a pūoro player like James, like Horomona, like Jerome, like yourself. I play to teach people to play. I play so that they can learn the sounds. I learned how to say, now for this instrument, I want you to whistle for me, whistle. Till you put your lips in the right place. I played a silver flute. So what we do with the flute is go get your embouchure up. And that does the embouchure, puts it right in the position. I said, now put your kōwau over here and then slowly whistle. I don't want to hear you blow. Whistle. And then the whistle gets lost. If it's the pukaya, I want them to learn how to spit. And I said, now you've got a bunch of rice in your mouth and you're going to spit one rice out at a time. You want to watch them try and spit a one rice and they can't even pretend there's a rice in their mouth? Hey, you know, that one rice, you spit that one rice out. So you should be making that voice. Where's your tongue? Because they don't go, you know, where's your tongue? Your tongue is directing the rice to get out of there. It's that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to find better ways to teach them how to very quickly achieve the voice of the pūoro. But I'm not in concert of standing up there and playing. You want me to play, I'll sing.
Ana.
But if I specialise on anything, and I never ever call it Hinewirangi, I call it tupuna kōrero.
Ana.
Because tupuna gifted us. I didn't gift you, make you boring.
He.
I can't. Don't you tell me that. Hey, you tell the tupuna that they gifted you. I can't. I'm boring, tupuna. What are you saying? Hey, Ātua, I'm boring. Well, you can't say that because they didn't make you boring. And my job is to open your gates and to find what tool I need to put into your gateway to play.
And you do this through the sharing of pūrākau also.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there a favourite pūrākau of yours?
Yeah, I have heaps. Heaps of pūrākau.
Which one for today?
But, no.
Maybe I might set the scene.
The pūrākau is the base of one's life. It's, just alone when the gods called. The goddesses called the world into being. Two of them balance. Mine is totally about restoration of the stories that were written out by Sir George Grey, a white man who had no idea. Because what happened when they came to this country, they saw wahine, powerful and strong, standing at the side of their men, powerful and strong on the same waka, doing the same things. They weren't like based on Freud. You know, that stupid Freud who said that men will work outside because they got a penis and the woman inside because they got a vagina. Hello. If that's the way the pārea base their lives, that's not what we do. So they found wahine strong and powerful, standing at the side of their powerful and strong men. They knew what they had to do was to seduce our men, and rapidly, because it would be only them who could make change. And in fact, they did. They made themselves, our men, bless their soul, tapu, and they made us noa, paru. Yet we carry the most sacred of all houses, the house of all humanity in the whare tangata. Why? Not theirs. I tell them not to feel shame, because they had to. In order to survive, we had to become. And they were seduced, and still are pretty much seduced today. So, this is why I work in prisons. I can slap their ears as they come out of prison and stuff. But it is because I love them dearly. And that's all I know. Yet I come from a childhood that was totally abused by them. Raped at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. By 15, I'm jumping off a 3-story building. By 18, I'm an LSD, cocaine and heroin addict. I'm a prostitute in Wellington, bashing men, not having sex, bashing them, getting paid for it, because I hated them. And it's taken me these years to heal. In 2000, I finally had my day with him. And told him he was a master kava. I talked television and exposed him as Tutitu Kaukau. And he had raped a number of other children. And I took him to court, and he was going to be charged, but he died karma of prostate cancer. And no one turned up to this fabulous kava's tangi. But he needed help. Where was he going to get it from? My heart wept for him, and I forgave him in the year 2000. I realized he needed so much help, and I forgave him. So I sit in a state of forgiveness and knowing that I have a lot of work to do. That's why when I died in March, and I did, I had too much work. They kicked my ass home. So I've got to get this work done. With that. And so pūoro has been a way to walk that journey into the soul of our men, to sing their souls back into being the beautiful men that we know they are. They're ours, rotten or not rotten. You can't say, oh, you're a rotten kid, I don't want to know you. No, you can't do that. That rotten kid needs another rotten kid to help straighten them up. That's me, because I was rotten. I was bored by my nan. That's why I was trying to cross the river. I wasn't trying to commit suicide. I was trying to cross the river because that's where I saw her went. And she wouldn't let me get on the boat to go across the river. So I talk about that in the pūoro. The oro is those pūrako that you tell, the pūrako that you are a part of, because they have much more meaning. A lived experience is much more meaning than a head knowledge. Because you get to know the head people, they just leave it in the head and that's it. It's not a practice. Whereas Māori, we have to practice what we know. Because if we don't practice, we'll shut your mouth. Close your mouth because you don't practice what you're talking about.
Me te rongoa hoki, o te taonga pūoro, o taumaha, tō hikoinga, i tō ake ara, e mihi ana ki a koe. Mōui i tuku me te pure i enei kōrero, kia puta ki tēnei ao marama, kia rongo e te hunga, e noho taumaha ana, te rapea me tehi o enei āhuatanga, anei te teihi nā tore mō rātau, kia rātau, anei he ara rongoa ko te taonga pūoro tēnā, e mihi ana kia koe, e Hinewirangi, wow.
I just want to close it, if I may, with the oro that actually helped me live. And it was a song my nan gave me. And she said to me, you know, baby, this is that pūraka kind of, baby, you're like the ocean. You're like the seaweed. And it's my song I always sing, the seaweed, rimu, rimu. The seaweed that floats, and no matter you're like, the anger of the ocean, whether the ocean is wild or calm. If you haven't learned to dance the dance of life, then it'll rip you out of the ocean bottom and cast you up on the sand for all those namu to eat you. So learn this song, my baby, and every time you need, sing it. And this is the oro, or the healing process that I took that I sang that song all the time. Whether it be in my head or whether it be out aloud, I would sing it because it was the only thing that kept me alive. It was what made me who I am today, was this way, this oro, this beautiful oro. My name left me rimu. Kahungungu styles, of course. You've got another stylist that goes to more tete type. But Kahungungu is very kind of glittery and beautiful.
Colourful.
Yeah.
Colourful.
And that's us, you see. And I'd like to sort of thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing your kōrero, and us as, tāne. It's always quite hard as a tāne sort of hearing those kōrero because it's all true, and just having to process those things for ourselves and, what it is, how do we bring about those balances, and that's the beautiful thing about taonga pūoro always as well, is that, there's that whakarite within taonga pūoro, te taha wahine, te taha tāne, te taha atua, and we all understand. We don't, not necessarily everybody understands that because they see it all as, te taha wahine, te taha tāne, but, atua. And so they don't have a gender as such, but we, because the way in which we trying to explain those things away, we always genderize them. And so those are another, these are some of the learnings too that we need to sort of readdress, and how do we sort of re-indigenize our thoughts about how we perceive our atua and how those atua sort of live within inside ourselves as well, and how do we find that whakarite, so we can go on those healing journeys relative to all those dark spots and our trauma and, experiences in life. So, yeah, thank you for your, your sharing and your experiences. Really sort of, I don't know, it just brings a flutter to your throat and your manawa when you're always talking to you, Hinewirangi. What are your inspirations for taonga pūoro to be strengthened with our people?
Yeah, what
sort
are
of
your
moving forward? Yeah, what are your hopes, dreams, and aspirations for that?
For taonga pūoro.
Yeah, I've been putting in my wānanga out there I'm looking for teachers of my style of working with them, because I think I balance others. I balance haumanu too, in terms of working the way I work, particularly as you balance in the way you work. And every one of us have a different pukinga as we come to the table. My hope is that there will be those who will carry that same oro, from the oro, the four doors of the oro, all the way through to pūoro, because they all interconnect. So my aspirations is just teaching others that knowledge and sharing that with them. But long as you know you're going to have, when you come to me, you're going to have a commitment that will teach rather than just learn for yourself. But that you're going to share with as many Māori, young Māori, rangatahi. We've got to open a whole new field. We've got all of us golden oldies. But what about our rangatahi? What are we doing with our kohanga reels that we can put in pūoro to play, for the babies to play? I bought a drum the other day. I think a drum for my autistic child. What about them? And putting pūoro. And that's why, mind you, I put a gate on my house. In my house, you see, little child safe gate, because I got one Hinewirangi that's just a wrecker. She's only she's not even 1.5 years old yet. And so that more, you're locking out. You go, buddy, chuck everything on the ground and you lock out. So, but I envision the different levels that we need to build. My vision is a kura. We have a kura in Waikato. We have a kura, and that can be run by Libby. We have a kura where you are, James. That's again run by you. But the kura needs to be inclusive of across the board, of rangatahi. And then we need to get our kaumātua involved. They got the stories. They just need to be loved and back into safety, because those kaumātua were really bashed. and they had to put away in order to save us. So we need to love them back into not just buddies, stick them in old people's home. Hey, we need to stick them around the kōhanga reo homes. So they're going to say, hara mai kui, that baby needs a loving. Koro, that boy needs a loving, and you know, you better get up and get to work. You know, that sort of kōrero with our kaumātua. No, we stick them in. Then you should see their programs they have. They've got to get out there and sing dumb songs. I just think, we can be having a mokopuna write their story. Hey, go and record their story on their phone, then come home, write it up, and then come back, get the next step, write it up, you know. We're not doing for our kaumātua what we need to do in a pūoro sense. It's so inclusive. We haven't even bothered to stretch that far. Hey, to even look at that, we're just stuck in this little bits of work that we each do, and I believe we can all do that and stretch it across. So what is my dreams and my hopes? Kura, everywhere. Tamiana's running them on Kapiti, look at him. You know, you've got Jerome trying to run wherever he's running. You can't let that buddy, what's his name, try and get out of it either. What's Mr. Skipper? No, Mr. Skipper. It's not just about you, it's about our people. You know, it's that sort of stuff because they hold such taonga, and it's a privilege to be in that space. It's a privilege to hold a taonga that we are known for. So we have to give the privilege back to the tūpuna and do what they ask us to do. That's my dream anyway. My dream and my hope. That has always been. So I'm starting schools at my studio.
Yes.
You know, I have plenty schools. I have about 1, 2, 3 operating full. We had a beautiful, beautiful exhibit the other day of my 8 students that carve hue in the forest. And, you know, I asked the universe for one fine day after all of these big, huge storms. Guess what? We had one fine, beautiful day. And all our taonga was spread throughout. The women set up their exhibit in the forest of Māreikura forest. And their families came, 20 of them. And Kiriama Clark, who is the Creative Arts New Zealand, was our guest on the other side. He spoke, and Ture Peke spoke on our side. So we had a real little ceremony. And I sat up in my chair with my leg elevated up there. Felt really proud of that class, graduated.
So it's really not an aspiration because you're already doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're already normalising this mahi in your whare, e mihi ana. I would like for you to sing your song that reminds you about ora.
I sang it often. Thank you.
hi atu nei. Kei te Māreikura. Mōu he tako hanei I tō puku I o Tauranga. Hine pu te hue e ora hei. Te rongoa o te oroe. Tō ake rongoa e.